Okay, so next what I'm going to play with is I'm going to play with a shape tween. And again, like I said, we haven't covered this at all yet, but I thought you might be interested. The first thing I need to do, absolutely, is to create a brand new layer. Okay, there is no way that I should keep everything all in the same layer. It won't work. It really will not work. So I'm going to create myself a new layer, and I'm going to name it, whoops, I'm going to name it Splash. Okay, now this new layer is, if anything shows up on this new layer, there's nothing there yet, but because it's over the old layer, the fish layer, it will cover up the fish if I'm not careful. So I'm going to drag this down underneath the first layer. Okay, and also notice that the circle, that it's actually a keyframe at the very beginning, is not filled in at all. That means there's nothing on that layer. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and lock the fish layer so that I don't accidentally keep hitting the fish layer, because it will happen. So we're going to keep things simple because these kinds because shape layers are very they're hard to control, frankly. They're very hard to control. So I'm going to draw some water. Yes, I'm very aware it's lame water. Just work with me here. And you'll notice now I have something on my splash layer here. It filled in, it's gray, and that first dot is now all filled in. Okay. The thing about shape tweens is you have to have a beginning keyframe like that, and you have to have an ending keyframe. And they both have to be circles like that. It's very important. Because what a shape tween does is it morphs from one of these keyframes to another one of these keyframes. Like, it completely morphs. Color, shape, everything. So I'm going to come to the very last frame of this water that's just existing here. It's not even animated. Right click, and I'm going to insert a blank keyframe. And you'll see when I do that, it creates, I'm going to click off of here, and there we go. It creates one of those completely see-through little circles. That means it's waiting for something to be put in there. Okay, I'm going to put something in there. I'm going to go back to my brush, and I'm going to draw slightly different water. We'll see how this comes out. It's probably going to look very odd. Okay, now right now all this is it flashes straight from one thing to the next. If I scrub just a little bit, it stays like that, and then suddenly boom. So we are set up to create a shape tween now. We have our first keyframe set up, and we have our last keyframe set up. So I right click in between the two, and I go to create shape tween, and voila, we have a shape tween. A shape tween is green, and it has this funny looking arrow on it. Okay, so let's scrub and let's see what that water does. It does some pretty creepy things actually, but it still works. It still works. So far we have a very simple little animation. Change my selection tool. I do want to point out, by the way, when I created that shape tween and when I drew that shape tween, none of it ended up over here in the library. Notice all I have over here is still the fish. That's how it should be. Shapes don't end up in the library. The only thing that ends up in the library are assets that you import from other places, like pictures, like JPEGs, or Illustrator files, Photoshop files, or symbols. Okay, there are a few other things that'll end up in here, but shapes are not one of them. And this is definitely shape because I select it and it turns into a pattern of dots. Okay, so that's a motion tween and a shape tween. The last thing I'm going to cover really quickly is, first of all, let's save this. Save as. Okay, fine. And let's not save it there. Okay, so I'm going to save it to my desktop, and notice that the ending there is FLA. That's a Flash file. It's required that you have Flash Professional to open up that file. Okay, so I'm going to save it. Now you're asking, well, how do I share this with my friends? What you need to do is you need to go File and Publish Settings. And this is how you make a web-ready file, or an SWF file, as it's also known. So you have all of these possible things you can make it into. We're going to deselect the HTML wrapper, and we're just going to export the SWF file. The SWF file, it's like, it's collapsed. It's like a JPEG. It has no layers. It's just the animation. You don't have to do anything else over here. We're just going to publish that SWF. It will go to the same place as the FLA did on the desktop. And I'm going to click Publish. and OK. Alright, so that's how you create files, and you would turn those two files in, FLA and SWF, if it were an assignment. If you just want to test your image or your animation, you can go to Control and Test Movie and Test. And you'll notice here's the shortcut. For the Mac, it's for the Mac, it is Command Return. Okay, like that, Command Return. On the PC, it would be Control Return. Okay, and it automatically plays over and over like that. Okay, so hopefully that's helpful to you. We'll see if, what else I may need to put down in video for y'all. Hopefully this is helpful. Okay.